At a 2017 shareholders meeting, Warren Buffett confidently stated, "If somebody walks in with a solar project tomorrow and it takes $1 billion or it takes $3 billion, we're ready to do it, and the more the better." But what if the proposal was nothing more than a facade for a Ponzi scheme? Could you really sell anything to even the most astute business people? Jeff Carpoff proved you could, securing a staggering $1.2 billion investment from Buffett's own Berkshire Hathaway, all part of an elaborate scam. How did Carpoff pull off one of the biggest scams in history? What made Buffett, a titan of investment, and even the US Treasury, fall for this scheme? Well, this is the story of deception and the audacity to scam even those who are considered the gatekeepers of finance. It's a story so cunning that it challenges the very pillars of trust in the financial world. This is the story of Jeff Carpoff, a billion-dollar Ponzi scheme that hooked Warren Buffett and the US government. So how did all this start? For that, I have to take you back to the year 2007, when Jeff Carpoff was 36, jobless, and adrift. Although Jeff was skilled as a mechanic, he had a hard time succeeding as a businessman. Over the years since finishing high school, he had seen his repair shops fail one after the other. He had also gone through personal bankruptcy and had lost his home in a small Californian refinery town to foreclosure, where he lived with his wife and 2 young children. From a young age, Jeff was eager to earn his own money. After high school, Jeff got into trouble for mishandling hazardous materials at a garage he had opened. His life spiraled further as he struggled with a meth addiction, eventually selling the drug to settle debts. Things started to look up when he married his high school sweetheart, Paulette Amato. She helped him overcome his addiction, and together, around 2002, they opened an independent repair shop called Roverland USA in a Martinez backstreet. The shop attracted customers from all over the Bay Area who appreciated Jeff's cost-effective methods for fixing Land Rovers. However, an attempt to expand the business into retail sales backfired when the auto parts they ordered from Mexico were of such poor quality that even Jeff's mechanics refused to use them. By 2007, the business was gone, their mortgage was defaulted, and creditors were closing in. Once again, Jeff turned to selling drugs. It was around this time that a former customer approached him with a life-changing proposal. How about selling solar panels? Jeff Carpoff came up with an idea while speaking with a neighbor who wanted solar panels for his weekend house, but was worried they might be stolen when he wasn't around. Carpoff thought, why must the panels be affixed to the roof where they could be easily taken? What if they could be mounted on a trailer instead? This way, they could be stored in a barn or garage when not in use, or even hitched to a truck and taken along wherever needed. This brainstorm led to his first patent application, simply titled Trailer with Solar Panels. The idea was straightforward, but had the potential to revolutionize how people perceived portable energy. Carpoff's innovation caught the attention of Dave Watson, a software consultant who saw the potential in Carpoff's mobile solar panels and arranged a demonstration for a group of local entrepreneurs. The setup was impressive. 2 rows of solar panels on rotating beams that could be locked upright for easy transport and tilted to catch the sun when parked. It was clear this was more than just an anti-theft solution. It was a versatile, portable power source. With the growing market for portable generators, Carpoff's invention had the potential to make a significant impact. So, after the demonstration, Watson and some associates invested almost $400,000 in Carpoff's idea, forming a company called Pure Power Distribution to market the invention. They targeted Hollywood, which was already showing interest in sustainable production practices. Carpoff's mobile solar generators seemed perfect for replacing noisy, polluting diesel generators on movie sets. Major films like Inception, Valentine's Day, and Bad Words experimented with using them. Carpoff, portraying himself as a successful entrepreneur, even moving to Daytona Beach, Florida, looking to attract more investors. There, he pitched his revolutionary solar product to a real estate agent, who introduced him to Heidi Gleboff, who was so impressed by the idea of mobile solar power that she offered to market the devices on commission. Now, one thing that helped him pretty much was the tax benefit. Large corporations could pinpoint exactly how much they wanted to save on taxes, and through a specially created investment fund, they would buy just enough generators to hit that target. They only had to pay 30% of the price up front, the exact amount they could then claim as a tax credit, reducing their federal taxes dollar for dollar. DC Solar would loan the remaining 70% to the buyers and even repay it using the revenue from leasing those generators. Carpoff was so confident in the potential of the rental market, having secured long-term leases with major telecom, entertainment, and construction companies, that he guaranteed the loan payments and even promised additional cash returns from the leasing revenue. The beauty of these deals was that buyers could reap the benefits of the tax credits and lease payments without ever needing to handle, maintain, or even see the generators themselves. The internal rates of return promoted in pitch decks were over 50%, which was incredibly enticing. This attracted interest from conservative and large-scale investors, including US Bank and Sherwin-Williams. The latter was so keen that they appeared to overlook standard due diligence processes. Carpoff, sensing the high demand, decided to increase the selling price of the generators to $150,000 each, a 50% hike from his initial price. He also projected that rental fees could double within 5 years. This pricing strategy was not just about profit. Higher prices meant larger tax credits for the buyers, making the deal even more attractive. Now, most experts at that time expressed concerns about the feasibility of renting out all the generators at these high prices without any gaps, questioning Carpoff's optimistic projections. Despite these doubts, the legal and tax framework continued to support the transactions, and the deals went through. As DC Solar began to attract more scrutiny, it became clear that the company had severe operational issues. Many of the generators were malfunctioning, and Carpoff had to resort to attaching diesel generators as a backup, which contradicted the company's eco-friendly image. The reliance on these backups and the frequent malfunctions led to a growing realization that there wasn't a genuine market for the long-term leases Carpoff had promised. Facing financial instability, Carpoff considered drastic measures. By mid-2012, he met with his accountant to devise a new plan. They proposed using the money from new sales to cover lease payments to previous buyers, essentially recycling cash within the company to keep the scheme going. This strategy was a classic sign of a Ponzi scheme, but with a unique twist. By posing as a legitimate solar company, DC Solar not only misled new investors, but also exploited US tax credits, effectively shifting the financial burden to American taxpayers. Carpoff reassured his team that this was just a temporary measure, a common enough practice in startups, he claimed. The goal was to maintain cash flow and give the illusion of a thriving business, even if the revenue wasn't really coming from the leases. He continued to assure everyone, from employees to big-name clients, that business was booming, even as the reality was far from it. By February 2014, Carpoff received a concerning email from James Howard, an investment executive at Valley National Bank, which was about to purchase $77 million worth of Carpoff's generators. Carpoff had assured Howard that 80 to 90% of DC Solar's generators were rented out. However, Howard wanted proof, and DC Solar's executives knew they couldn't provide it because only about 5% of the generators were actually leased. If they revealed the true leasing rate, it would jeopardize the deal with Valley National Bank and expose the entire Ponzi scheme. So what do? Well, they claimed that most lease information was confidential, but Howard persisted. Consequently, the company fabricates reports about the leases. They created false reports indicating who was leasing the generators and at what rates. As the scheme grew, investors began demanding actual evidence of the leases rather than just taking Carpoff's word for it. Carpoff, realizing he needed to produce tangible proof, turned to his vice president of operations. He tasked him with finding someone to sign a fake lease, promising that it would involve T-Mobile agreeing to lease 1,000 generators for a decade, generating $13 million a year. Guidry managed to persuade Alan Hansen, a disillusioned T-Mobile employee, to sign the fake contract for a $1 million payoff. Meanwhile, at a NASCAR event, Carpoff made connections leading to a significant deal with the International Speedway Corporation to lease 1,500 generators. However, this deal included undisclosed terms that allowed multiple exits for both parties. ISC ended up paying DC Solar $8.5 million for the leases and received $15 million in sponsorship payments from DC Solar, creating a mutually beneficial yet deceptive arrangement. As Carpoff continued to expand his fraudulent activities, DC Solar even reached out to Berkshire Hathaway's Geico. Despite an initial hiccup that nearly derailed the deal due to DC Solar's request for faster payment, the transaction proceeded. Geico eventually bought nearly 8,000 generators, providing DC Solar with a substantial financial influx and tax savings. Carpoff's lifestyle grew increasingly lavish, funded by the scheme's proceeds, moving the company's headquarters to a more prestigious location and maintaining appearances with high-profile spending. However, the actual manufacturing of the generators dwindled, with DC Solar focusing more on maintaining the illusion of a successful operation than on legitimate business activities. As DC Solar's deceptive practices continued, the company used various tactics to mislead buyers and auditors. They manipulated VIN numbers, used GPS transponders to create false locations for generators, and employed quick fixes to present an appearance of compliance and success. This elaborate web of deceit not only fooled investors, but also compromised the integrity of renewable energy initiatives, showing just how far Carpoff was willing to go to sustain his Ponzi scheme. The unraveling of Carpoff's scheme began around 10 months prior, when the Securities and Exchange Commission received a whistleblower report from a former employee, Sebastian Jano. He had stumbled upon the fraudulent circular payments and confronted Carpoff and DC Solar's general counsel. Unconvinced by the explanations given, the employee resigned and alerted the SEC, which then involved the U.S. Attorney's Office. This led to the FBI getting involved. On December 18, 2018, a massive operation unfolded as about 175 federal agents swarmed the headquarters of DC Solar, and a SWAT team forced entry into the Carpoff's hillside home. Inside Carpoff's office, agents discovered nearly $2 million in cash stashed in a safe. The agents then moved quickly to locate Carpoff's extensive car collection. They were directed to nearby warehouses, where they found 150 cars, ranging from a 1926 Ford Model T to a 2014 Tesla Model S. The cars were in pristine condition, but many were so unused that their batteries were dead and the U.S. Marshals couldn't start them. During the raids, Carpoff called his office to check if his and his wife's passports were still on his desk. Learning they had been seized, he simply said, "Oh, fuck," and hung up. As the federal investigation closed in, Carpoff tried to maintain control. He instructed a high school classmate who had previously signed fake commissioning reports to destroy evidence by disposing of fraudulent VIN stickers stored in a Las Vegas warehouse. Despite Carpoff's urging to keep quiet, the reality of the situation set in for his associate, who eventually cooperated with federal agents. By July 2019, key figures in DC Solar, including the accountant, the CFO, and the VP of operations, had pled guilty and agreed to cooperate with the prosecution. The unraveling continued, leading to the Carpoffs pleading guilty in January 2020 to charges including money laundering and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. His wife was also sentenced to 11 years and 3 months in prison for her involvement in the scheme. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing. Until next time, stay out of trouble.